When a captured Russian soldier told Ukrainian interrogators he had been sent to the front line without food, without water, without medical supplies, and that his only hope for survival was praying for rain so he could drink from puddles, it revealed something about this war that Russian propaganda can never admit. According to Latvian military expert Captain Māris Bruža, what is happening to Russian infantry right now is not warfare. It is mass disposal of human beings to achieve territorial gains measured in snail paces. December 16th, 2025. Ukraine's 63rd Brigade captured this soldier after his unit was sent through Ukrainian lines with nothing but a rifle and a direction. No supplies, no support, no plan beyond fight until sunset somewhere over there. The interrogation video shows a man who is not defeated by Ukrainian firepower. He is defeated by his own command structure, abandoning him to die in a field. He was captured and left to survive on his own. If you want comprehensive analysis of Ukraine war developments that connects battlefield reality to strategic implications, hit subscribe. We break down what is actually happening, not what either side's propaganda claims. But this is not an isolated incident. Captain Bruža analysed reports from the 63rd Brigade sector and identified a pattern. Russian forces are sending small groups of infantry through Ukrainian positions in what defenders describe as zombie-like behaviour. These troops wander the battlefield without clear objectives, without adequate supplies, searching for Ukrainian positions they are supposed to attack. Most never make it. Ukrainian forces eliminate them with drones, artillery, or small arms fire before they reach any target. The 63rd Brigade spokesperson described the situation directly. Russian soldiers arrive at the front in small groups, get divided into assault teams, receive a compass bearing and a time limit. No proper equipment, no food, no water, nothing. Show them a direction and tell them to fight until sunset. The captured soldier's testimony confirms this. He said he went days without food, had no medical support, and spent his time praying so he could fill canteens from puddles or drink directly from streams. Therefore, when you see Russian casualty statistics showing 1,730 soldiers eliminated in a single day, you are not looking at combat losses from intense firefights. You are looking at the systematic sacrifice of infantry sent into kill zones without basic survival equipment. So the question becomes, why would any military operate this way? Captain Māris Bruža explains the logic. Russian command has received orders to capture specific territory by specific deadlines. Donbass before Christmas. The Lyman sector by New Year. These are not military objectives based on strategic value. These are political demands from Putin that generals must fulfill regardless of cost. Territory matters. Soldiers do not. Send another wave. If they die, send more. The calendar does not stop for tactical considerations. But here is what makes this particularly devastating for Russian forces. Let me show you exactly how effective this strategy has been. Artificial intelligence analysis of territorial changes calculated that from January 1st through December 16th, 2025, Russian forces occupied exactly 0.77% of Ukrainian territory. That is less than 1% in an entire year. Someone asked AI how far a snail travels in 4 years. Answer: approximately 50 kilometers. Russia's army has achieved roughly the same speed as a snail over the same time frame. Think about what that number represents. 1,730 soldiers killed yesterday alone. Multiply that across 350 days. You get over 600,000 casualties to capture less than 1% of a country's territory. The mathematics of this approach produce a simple conclusion. Russia is trading soldiers at a rate that makes World War I's Western Front look efficient. But Ukrainian forces aren't just defending. They are systematically degrading Russian capabilities across multiple domains at the same time. The night of December 16th to 17th, Ukrainian drones struck multiple Russian oil infrastructure targets. The Slavyansk refinery in Krasnodar region and the Nikolaevsk oil depot in Rostov region both suffered explosions and fires. Additionally, Ukrainian forces damaged a River Sea-class vessel named Captain Gibert near the Yeysk oil terminal, knocking another fuel transport vessel out of Russian logistics. Simultaneously, Ukrainian drones hit a field artillery ammunition depot belonging to Russia's 101st Separate Brigade in occupied Luhansk region. Major fire. Significant ammunition stocks destroyed. Russians are getting back exactly what they deliver to Ukrainian cities. Therefore, while Russian infantry wanders battlefields without food, Ukrainian forces are systematically destroying the fuel and ammunition that would support those operations. The deep strike campaign continues expanding. But the most significant damage assessment from recent Ukrainian operations involves something underwater. Open-source intelligence specialists completed analysis of satellite imagery showing the Kilo-class submarine struck by Ukrainian Sub-Sea Baby drones at Novorossiysk. The conclusion? Serious damage to the submarine's propulsion system. The drone hit the stern section, where the propeller shaft, and rudder systems are located. Satellite imagery shows the damaged submarine sitting more than 1 meter deeper in the water than normal, indicating severe flooding in the aft compartment. The explosion created a 9-meter crater in the concrete pier. Captain Bruža explains the implications. If the propeller shaft and rudder are damaged, this submarine requires months of repairs in dry dock. The entire rear section would need to be disassembled to replace these components. For a submarine designed to launch caliber cruise missiles at Ukrainian cities, being stuck in repairs for 6 months to a year effectively removes it from the war. Russia started this conflict with 4 operational Kilo-class submarines in the Black Sea. One was damaged in Sevastopol in September 2023. Another strike in August 2024 made it the first submarine lost in combat since World War II. Now, a third submarine requires extensive repairs. That is, 75% of the Black Sea submarine fleet either destroyed or critically damaged. And Russia cannot replace these vessels. The Montreux Convention prohibits moving submarines through the Bosphorus during wartime. Repair facilities in occupied Crimea remain under constant Ukrainian surveillance and strike threat. These submarines are not coming back into service anytime soon. So, while Russian soldiers search for puddles to drink from, their navy is losing the platforms that made the Black Sea a threat to Ukrainian coastal cities. But the most significant development this week did not happen on the battlefield. It happened in Brussels. The European Union finally moved toward decisive action on frozen Russian assets. After Trump called European leaders weak, and as American support for Ukraine decreased, Europe faced a choice. Use approximately 300 billion euros in frozen Russian central bank reserves to fund Ukrainian defense, or watch Ukraine forced into capitulation through lack of resources. Captain Bruža notes this represents the moment Europe stops waiting for American leadership and accepts responsibility for its own security. The reparations credit that uses Russian money could become the turning point that Russian territorial gains, measured at a snail's pace, cannot overcome. Belgium requested additional guarantees about potential liability, but the fundamental decision has been made. Those funds will be blocked indefinitely and directed towards Ukrainian reconstruction and defense. This matters because it represents something Russia cannot counter. Ukrainian drones destroying oil refineries can be rebuilt. Submarines damaged in port can theoretically be repaired, but 300 billion euros shifted from Russian reserves to Ukrainian defense spending changes the fundamental economics of this war in ways Putin's territorial demands cannot address. Therefore, the hidden ultimatum American negotiators presented in Berlin takes on different meaning. Accept our generous security guarantees now, or watch them get worse later, becomes less threatening when Europe commits its own resources independent of American political cycles. Ukraine gains negotiating leverage precisely when Russian forces achieve their slowest territorial advance of the entire war. But not every development this week was real. Let me show you how panic spreads faster than facts. A German defense expert named Kieswetter told German media that Russia had deployed 350,000 to 360,000 troops in Belarus. The claim spread rapidly across social media, particularly in the Baltic states. Lithuania immediately stated the information was false, calling it blatant disinformation aimed at intimidating the public. Captain Bruža said it was completely untrue. The mathematics of this false claim reveal why it is impossible. 350,000 troops represents 1/3 of a million soldiers. Moving that many personnel requires massive logistical support, visible to every intelligence service. Remember February 2022, when Russian forces invaded from Belarus with their 60-kilometer convoy? That force was significantly smaller than 350,000 troops, and satellite imagery tracked every vehicle. No intelligence service missed that deployment. No intelligence service would miss 350,000 troops appearing in Belarus. Kieswetter later corrected his statement, acknowledging a calculation error and revising his estimate to 100,000 to 150,000 troops. Independent monitoring shows the actual Russian presence in Belarus at approximately 2,000 to 2,300 personnel. The original claim demonstrates how misinformation spreads when people want to believe worst-case scenarios. But real threats don't need exaggeration. Let me show you what actual combat intensity looks like. December 16th, 2025. 278 combat clashes across the entire front. That's 127 more clashes than the previous day. The Pokrovsk sector alone recorded 82 separate engagements. The Vremivka and Huliaipol sectors saw 28 clashes, 15 more than the previous day. The Lyman sector, where Russian forces captured 3/4 of Siversk, recorded 27 clashes, 15 more than the day before. The Kupiansk sector recorded 24 clashes as Russian forces continued pressure on that axis. These aren't statistics. These are human beings trying to kill each other 278 times in 24 hours, across hundreds of kilometers of front line. Ukrainian forces eliminated 1,730 Russian soldiers, destroyed 6 tanks, 21 armored vehicles, 33 artillery systems, and 167 drones. 179 vehicles and fuel tankers were also destroyed. 1 air defense system was destroyed. The Pokrovsk sector's 82 clashes represent Russian forces pushing toward the city from multiple directions simultaneously. They are not conducting coordinated operations. They are throwing small infantry groups at Ukrainian positions repeatedly, accepting massive casualties to gain meters of territory. This is the strategy that produces 0.77% annual territorial gains while consuming soldiers faster than recruitment can replace them. Captain Bruža emphasizes this represents the fundamental Russian approach. Territory matters more than soldiers. Deadlines matter more than casualties. Putin demands specific cities captured by specific dates, and generals sacrifice whoever is necessary to meet those demands. The soldier drinking from puddles after praying for rain? He is not an exception. He is the intended outcome of a system designed to spend human lives purchasing land at any cost. But Ukrainian forces demonstrated that proper tactics do not require mass sacrifice. Early morning December 16th, heavy fog reduced visibility across the Azov Brigade sector. Russian forces attempted to exploit the conditions, forming a column of 16 quad bikes carrying infantry for a motorized assault. But Ukrainian reconnaissance drones equipped with infrared cameras continued operating despite the fog. They detected the Russian column, tracked its movement, and coordinated a response combining drones, artillery, and pre-positioned mines. Not one Russian soldier from that column reached Ukrainian positions. The attack was destroyed before it arrived. Artillery operators watching drone feeds made their own targeting corrections in real time. Drone pilots guided strikes onto specific vehicles. The entire operation demonstrated exactly what modern warfare looks like when forces properly integrate technology with tactics. Compare that outcome to Russian operations sending soldiers through Ukrainian lines without supplies, hoping some percentage reached their objectives through sheer numbers. The Azov Brigade eliminated an entire Russian assault force using coordination and technology. Russian command sends soldiers to wander until they are killed, counting on a few survivors achieving something. Therefore, when you see footage from Ukraine's 63rd Brigade or the Hizak unit showing Russian infantry moving in small groups of 2 to 4 soldiers, appearing confused about objectives, easily targeted by €400 FPV drones, you are watching the inevitable result of treating soldiers as disposable resources rather than trained professionals. The Hizak unit defending Konstantinovka describes the city transforming into another Bakhmut, buildings reduced to rubble, block by block fighting. Russian forces advancing slowly at enormous cost, while Ukrainian defenders make every meter expensive. Captain Bruža notes the irony that Konstantinovka was actually a decent city in 2017 and 2018. Now it is in ruins. The same pattern repeats across the Donetsk region. Siversk was 3/4 occupied after weeks of grinding infantry assaults. The route towards Sloviansk and Kramatorsk would open if Russian forces break through completely. But Ukrainian forces demonstrated at Kupiansk what properly executed counterattacks can achieve. The question becomes whether similar operations can stabilize the Lyman sector before Russian advances threaten major cities. Meanwhile, the statistical reality of this war continues, demonstrating its absurdity. Russia captures less than 1% of Ukrainian territory annually, while Ukrainian forces strike targets 1,500 kilometers inside Russian borders. Russian submarines worth $400 million sit damaged in port, while Ukrainian drones built for thousands of dollars destroyed them. Europe commits €300 billion in Russian money to Ukrainian defense, while Russian soldiers pray for rain to fill their canteens.